Xander De Brain completed his first 100 of the season, but Chris Nash responded in kind, meaning that Surrey had to settle for a draw in their latest LV County Championship match in Arundel. The draw was always the most likely outcome, as the last day began with the visitors on 362 for 6 in their first innings, with a lead of only 67. De Brain needed just a single to make it to 3 figures, and he got that in the day's third over with a single off Monty Panesar. The ton had occupied 188 balls and contained 10 fours and a 6. After a slow start, Zafar Ansari tried to get on with things, but in doing so, he mishit Panesar to Matt Pryor to go for 13 at 372 for 7. 10 runs later, De Brain's long vigil was over as he slashed Panesar to Ed Joyce to give the spinner his first 5-wicket haul of the season. De Brain was out for 111. Surrey needed a dozen runs off the 110th over to secure maximum bonus points in the game for the first time this summer. It looked doubtful that they would do that, but Chris Tremlett belted Steve McGoffin for 2 successive sixes to take his side to 400 with just 1 ball to spare. 14 came off the last 3 balls of the over. And with that done, both Tremlett and Tim Linley kept on hitting. Tremlett thumped 2 more sixes off 2 successive deliveries in McGoffin's next over, while Linley took 1 off Panesar as this pair suddenly raced the total along on what had become a rather easy-paced pitch at the Castle ground. Tremlett even managed to record what was only the 8th half-century of his first-class career. It had been some knock as he got it off only 29 balls, from which he'd creamed 3 fours and 4 maximums. He then went on to make his highest ever score for Surrey of 54. His partnership with Linley was thrilling. In only 7 overs together, they hammered 74 runs for the 9th wicket. Tremlett finally perished, swinging Chris Jordan out to Pryor. The declaration came immediately, leaving Linley unbeaten on 22 out of his side's 456 for 9, which gave Surrey a lead of 161. Panesar finished with 5 for 142. There were still 70 overs available for Surrey to now try to make serious dents into Sussex's second innings. But with the pitch playing as well as it had done throughout this contest, a sudden collapse was never really likely. Nash and Luke Wells, who loves batting against his opposition, eased their way through to lunch and beyond, and it soon became abundantly clear that this game was heading for a draw, something which had perhaps been inevitable ever since the first day was lost to the weather. As the afternoon wore on, both batsmen were able to push the ball around, ensuring as they did so that there was no way back for the visitors. Wells completed another 50 against Surrey before he edged a drive at Ansari to be well held at the second attempt by Gary Wilson. That brought an end to the opening partnership of 107. Nash also got to his half-century. It had been a patient one by his standards, using up 114 balls, from which he'd hit 5 fours. Once that was out of the way, he smashed the next 3 deliveries he faced to the boundary as he started to eye up his first 100 of the summer. He lost Michael Yardy at the other end after he'd made only 8. It took another sharp catch, this time by Rory Burns at short leg, to get shot of him, with a total on 131 for 2. Nash kept going, however, taking his side into the lead by the time that tea was taken. That meant that the only notable thing left to happen was whether the opener could complete his ton. Sussex had to bat on the last day to save a game for the 3rd match in succession, but this was a rather easy save. Nash did indeed get to his 100 shortly before the captains shook hands on the draw. This match may have been going nowhere for a while, but that is to take nothing away from Nash, who batted extremely well, getting to 3 figures from his 173rd delivery, from which he'd struck 11 fours. He ended on 102 with Joyce on 26 as Sussex closed on 201 for 2. They took 7 points from this match, which sees them drop from the top spot to 3rd in the First Division table. For Surrey, this was their best performance of the summer. They claimed 11 points, which puts them 8 ahead of Somerset and out of the relegation places at last.